Okay. Recording? Yeah. So, Jenny, can you introduce yourself first and where you live and where you're from?
Well, first, I'm Jenny, and I live in Pasay City in the Philippines.
Where is it?
Before, I used to live in Manila, but I moved to Pasay City, so just close to Manila.
Oh, okay. Why did you move there?
I think it was four or 5 years ago. My parents bought condominiums here.
Mm-hmm.
And before I was living in a house, and it was a big house, but I was alone in the house, and so I wanted to just get rid of that. So I exchanged properties with my brother. So at that time, my brother, who had who has his own family, he decided to live in that place, and then I moved here, and I stayed here for several years.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, seems like a long story, right? We haven't talked much. We last met like I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Yeah.
I think so. It was a long time. I remember eating in Japanese restaurants a lot, so I like those. And but the year I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Right. True. Wow. Yeah. So many things have happened.
Yeah, and I remember when I was checking the profile, my profile on the website, and I would look at my age and like, oh, I don't want to change the age.
Yeah.
I think the last year was 28. Well, I'm 36 now, so it's been a while.
Yeah, time flies. Incredible.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you about Corona crisis. It has a lot of effect on you, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I've heard of the virus going around mostly in China in December, but at that time it wasn't such a big deal yet, so we weren't like thinking that it will become a pandemic. But I was preoccupied that time because I think at about October I started coughing.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried taking some cough medicines, but nothing worked. And it had been more than a month of me coughing. It was a really dry cough, very itchy throat. And December or last week of November, I got sick.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I thought I got sick because I was so stressed. I was so busy. I was in the process of moving to another condominium unit that time.
Mm-hmm.
When I got better, I decided to go to the doctor and have a checkup for the coughing, because I thought it was an allergy. And the doctor gave me some medicines for it, and I thought after a week it did not work, but I did not want to go back. But then around December 13, I got sick again.
Mm.
So at that time, my mom was thinking that's not normal for you to get sick for the second time in such a short period. So I had another checkup, and it was close to the holidays, so the laboratory for X-ray was closed, and I had to go back another day. And then I think after 5 days I got better, but December 24, for the third time, I got sick again.
Oh, okay.
And so 3 times. And after Christmas, that's when I had my X-ray done. But because of the holidays, I was only able to go back to a doctor maybe like few days before New Year, and the doctor told me to visit a pulmonologist because based on the result, it was saying that it's either pneumonia or tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it said, but I had to wait till after New Year, and about January 10, I went to a pulmonologist and he confirmed I have tuberculosis. So for me, as bad as it sounds, I'm actually happy that I found out about my tuberculosis early on, because if it had been at a later time, I would have freaked out thinking, is it the virus? Because the symptoms are the same. You know, I started with dry cough. Until now, I still have difficulty breathing. So you might notice after a few seconds or a few minutes, you know, I would run out of breath. So I have that till now. Yeah. So in terms of what's happening in the Philippines because of the virus, the president made the announcement March 12th.
Mm-hmm.
He said that there will be a community quarantine. He said it wasn't a lockdown, but he said it will start March 15. And fortunately for me, I was able to go to the grocery store March 12th before his announcement. And I bought several supplies because I did not want to go out for a long time because I was really scared that I would be infected. My condo has a lot of Chinese people living here, and they work, usually a lot of them work for the same company, and so they leave and they arrive at the same time. I was just really worried, so I bought everything I could, and when he made the announcement about the quarantine, I was safe. I was okay. And then I think after 2 days of issuing the quarantine, he realized that there were still people that would go out. Because at the time it was like, please stay at home. So he decided to change it into an enhanced community quarantine, which means it's no longer a request, it's a demand. Shopping malls are closed. Even the casinos in the Philippines, they were required to close.
So the question is, I mean, if you go out, I mean, what do you need? Because there are people that have to go out anyway, right? So you need a license or you have like a permission, or I mean.
Yes, we're given a pass. So per household, you have to tell the officials who will be in charge of going out to buy groceries, buy medicines, and in my case, I live alone, so it's really just me. And they gave us this. It says home quarantine pass.
Home quarantine pass.
It has my name in it, but you know, sometimes they don't really check. But it's good to have this if you do go out, so that if the police officers stop you, then you can show them you have the pass.
But how often can you go out? In a week or in a day? I'm not sure.
They didn't really mention anything specific about that. As long as you need something, you can go out. Yeah. But in my condo, because I have not been out for a really long time, but there were a few cases when my parents sent the driver to bring me and my brothers some food supplies. So I would meet him downstairs, and that's when I noticed that in my condo alone, they actually closed the main doors. So you have to buy something outside, you have to pass through the parking entrance. I don't know why. What was the reason for closing the main door and instead use the parking entrance? I have no idea, but that was the change that I see. And as for the frequency, I think as long as you have to buy something important, you can, but you know, I doubt that you would, because let's say if you go out today and you buy some groceries, you go back home and you feel bored, and you go out again, there's really not much places that you can go to, because most businesses are closed. The only ones that are open are the supermarkets, drugstores, gas stations, and some restaurants, which can only accommodate takeout and delivery.
Okay. So, but do you have any problems? Like, it's very hard to get the food right now, right? And the water. So, how things are going now?
Well, in terms of water, personally, I don't have any problems because I purchased the water purifier. So it is connected to my water pipe, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't know for other people. In my family alone, so I live in my own condo. My younger brother lives in his own condo. My older brother lives in his home, but we all have our own water purifiers. So we don't have to buy. In terms of food, I honestly wanted to make my supply last until June. I'm thinking, I don't know when this will be over. It's just that I don't know if I will survive the virus if I get infected. Got it. Yeah, because when I got tuberculosis, I couldn't understand it. I kept asking, like, why me? Because I don't smoke. I don't even get to really drink. And the doctors told me that I may have been infected by other people. And if that's the case, that means my immune system is not that strong to begin with. So now that I have it, I don't really want to go out unless I have to throw the trash, because if I get infected with the virus plus my tuberculosis, will I survive or will I die? Because I don't have faith in my immune system at the moment. So food-wise, I'm okay. I know there are a lot of poor people in the Philippines who are having a hard time, and they have different policies in different cities. There are cities where the mayors are really nice and would provide relief packages to people, but in some instances, you would still hear people say, why did I not get any in my place? I'm still waiting for it. So there are a lot of cases like that. Fortunately, for me and my family, we don't really have to worry. I don't have to worry. If I run out of food, I can always get some from my parents because the driver will be able to deliver it. But for example, my boyfriend, he told me that he had to stop working for now because he lives in one city and his company is in another city. And because of the enhanced quarantine, they actually placed borders per city. There are a lot of police officers in those areas. So he said that it had been difficult to go to work because every day there's a checkpoint. So he stopped working, but his company said no work, no pay.
Oh, but how does he survive? I mean, does the government support him, or I mean, the people as well? There are a lot of people who are not working right now, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of, there are some companies that are nice, generous enough to say, even if you don't go to work, we will pay you. But there are a lot of companies that can't afford it. And I remember recently, I think our president mentioned that there will be a financial aid worth 270 billion pesos that will be given away. But his priority is the poorest of the poor, because that's the bulk of the people in the Philippines. And my boyfriend would be considered as someone belonging to the middle class. And so for those people in the middle class, they find it hard to get help because most of the time the government wants to start with the bottom. Right. So it's time to reach them if there's even money left for them.
Okay, but if you if you belong to the middle class and they borrow money from the banks or the government or any support in the Philippines?
I think borrowing money from the bank at this point would be difficult because not even all banks are open. There are, some, but there are also other banks that would close, even though, the president said that the banks are essential, therefore they will stay open. Unfortunately, sometimes they would close a few of them. And I don't know if they can loan. I think the process of applying for a loan is usually long. So that part I actually have no idea.
Oh, okay. So what's your thought? I mean, what's going to happen next? I mean,
I don't want to be negative, but I like to be prepared for whatever bad things might happen. And so that's why a while ago I was saying maybe I need supply until June, because I honestly don't think that this will, be over in a short span of time, because not all countries have the same rules when it comes to, requiring people to stay at home, demanding social distancing. And in the Philippines, for the most part, Luzon is under enhanced community quarantine, but provinces in Visayas and Mindanao, the quarantine will depend on the governors or mayors in those areas. So initially, the quarantine in Luzon was supposed to be just until April 14th, so tomorrow, but our president decided to extend it until April 30. Me and my family members are thinking it will still be extended because, and I want it to be extended, to be honest, because I feel like if they stop it and people go back to their, normal routine, then I feel like there's going to be like a second phase of infections again. And I know it's not fair because it is easy for me to say I would like it to be continued because I don't have to worry about financial stuff. I mean, if there's really an emergency, I can, get some help from my parents, but not everybody has the luxury for it. So a lot of people in the Philippines, they want to start working because they have no choice. They keep saying that they will die from hunger before they die from the virus.
Right, true. Okay, so what would you like to do after this crisis? Do you have any future plan ahead of you with your boyfriend, for example?
Actually, I don't know, because I still, even if let's say this will be over by June, by that time I will still have tuberculosis. So my personal struggle is not over. I'm just fortunate that I was able to visit my doctor before the announcement for the quarantine, and it was my second month of taking medicine, so I had to have my x-ray done, and he checked and he said no significant changes at all, so that he thought it means that I might have to take medicines for 9 months. So even if the virus is gone, I mean, I am no longer infectious according to the doctor because I have been taking medicines for 2 months, but I need a minimum of 6 months so that the bacteria in my body will be completely killed. But because after 2 months, he did not see a lot of changes, not a lot of improvements in my x-ray, he's thinking that maybe I would have to take it for 9 months. So even if all these will be over, I have to check the news and really make sure that there are no longer people out here in the Philippines that are infected, so I can really go out. Otherwise, I'll stay at home, and if I have to go out, it will probably be just to buy some groceries.
Okay. So do you have any messages to our students or the people in Japan?
Yes, I do have some students that I have been talking to for a really long time, like 8 or 9 years, and I care deeply about them. And when I talk to them and I ask them, are you working at home? They say, no, I'm not. I'm like, no, stay at home, please. I hope your company will allow you, because I do get worried. I know when they go out, especially if they are living in Tokyo, not a lot of people have cars there because there's not a space for parking and it's expensive. So they have to use the public transportation, local trains, and it's scary to think that social distancing will not be implemented, because for the most part you won't have a choice. So I always remind my students to cover up. Every time I talk to them, I will always say, if you have a mask. I mean, they told me that the government in Japan gave 2 masks per family.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot. I mean, one of my students kind of complained and said, what will I do with 2 masks? There are 3 members in my family. So it's like one of them won't be able to use any. But I tell them to use the mask and to always wash their hands at least 20 seconds. And, to disinfect the clothes. I ask them, like, if you have to go to the grocery or go out, because at the moment you can still do that, I would ask them if they are disinfecting their clothes, things that they buy, and they said they do. So for me, that's a good thing, because I would never want to hear that any of my students would get sick because they had to go out, they had to work. I know that if there's another option, they would rather stay at home. So the only thing I can do is to always remind them to be careful, not to touch their faces when they're out, wash the hands, disinfect clothes. And also, I would tell them, like, we don't know what's going to happen next or what Mr. Abe will say. I mean, right now, it's still a request to stay at home, but what if in the future it's like a law? So I tell them to maybe stock on food supplies, just in case. Whatever happens, they are settled. They don't have to worry about their consumption.
Yeah, true.
So hopefully things will be better.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hope we're gonna have a better future.
So I'm glad I work at home, because I never had to worry. And I keep telling my students, as long as my age permits it, I will continue teaching at home, because it's the safest place to be.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for working for such a long time, maybe 10 years now, right? It's incredible.
I try to forget the one part, because 2 digits, that's a lot of years.
No, but I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
I appreciate it, but I like the idea that I was the survivor, so I like it, and I'm very grateful to still be here.
Yeah. I hope you'll be working another 10 years from now on.
Or 20.
Yeah, sure.
I would joke with some of my close students. I would tell them that, maybe I will still be teaching when I'm a senior, and you will still be having class, and we're talking like really, really slow for 50 minutes. And we would all laugh, just the thought of it. So I do hope I get to teach for a really long time.
Yeah, I hope so too. So yeah, thank you for taking your time, and I hope you're safe in the Philippines, and then just take care of yourself. Yeah.
You too. Please be safe. Like I told my students, wash hands all the time, cover up, and again, I want to say thank you for the donation that you have given me the other day. It's very, very helpful. So I cannot thank you enough for it. So yeah.
Thank you too. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. ジェニー先生はお聞きいただいたようにとてもよくお話をされる先生で有名ですね。僕が1を言う間に 10か20を話すという素晴らしい。リスニングをしたい先生、リスニングをしたい生徒さんはおすすめな先生ですので、よろしくお願いします。